What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network as well as the E! Network, as today we're talking Total Bellas Season 5, Episode 8, entitled Off the Deep End. So, as of this recording, there is still no confirmation on when this season's going to end. I would assume it's Episode 10, which I believe is set to revolve around the big proposal from Artem and maybe her finding out that she's pregnant as well. I'm not sure if that all goes down in that episode, too. I'm just assuming that goes down on June 4th. Thursday, June 4th is Season 5, Episode 10. There's usually been around, if not exactly, 10 episodes in every season up to this point, which is why I'm assuming that 10 episodes will be the end of Season 5, but I may be wrong. It might extend beyond that, so I'm not exactly sure yet. We are quickly approaching that point, though. If this episode was any indication in regard specifically to what was going down between Nikki and Artem. So we kick off the episode of the Bellas and their brother JJ, of course. They're drinking at some country bar, taking a neighbor's quiz. What makes a good neighbor? Of course, Nikki makes a sex joke. What else would you expect from her? So from there, we see Nikki and the rest of the family. We see Bree. We see, I'm not sure if Brian is there, but JJ and the Bellas' half-sister. I think it's John Laurinaitis' sister. So not their half-sister, but like their stepsister, whatever. Lauren and everyone else having a housewarming party for Nikki's new house, which is now complete, right next to Bree's house. They're officially, welcoming everyone in to make it official that it's Nikki's new house, and she absolutely loves it. Artem is not there. She says that he's off in LA doing new job opportunities, interviews, whatever, so he's not there. But she just raves for like 5 minutes about the new house, and I gotta be honest, it looks like a very nice house. And Bree, on the other hand, also agrees that it's a very nice house, but her big issue with it, and this is one of the central themes of the episode, is that she doesn't think it's all that toddler-friendly. It's one of those houses that you can... It's a lot like John Cena's house, when Nikki stayed there a number of seasons ago. Very nice, not quite a mansion at all, but it's very adult-esque, and, there was like bar stool chairs and stuff like that. Not exactly toddler-friendly, which Bree... isn't exactly enamored with, if only because, Birdie Joe might be over there a lot, Nikki might be watching her, and she could always, slip right through the gates. And specifically, it's not the house itself in terms of what she could break or fall off of or whatever. More so, it's the pool that Bree has a problem with, because Nikki has this really, really nice pool, but no gate, no nothing. It's really just, if you walk right in, you could fall right in. So she's very worried about Birdie Joe walking through the gate or getting through, however, and then falling in the pool and drowning or whatever. It's very scary stuff. So that's what she's kind of concerned with at this present moment. Meanwhile, we hear from Nikki, and she talks about how she feels accomplished and she's a very good place in her life, coming off the finishing touches of being, put on her new house and whatnot. So she visits the OBGYN to talk about her pregnancy process after, having the, I don't want to say pregnancy scare, but almost being pregnant a couple of episodes ago. I think it was last episode where she thought she might have been pregnant. They took the test and she wasn't pregnant. But she wants to find out what that process is like, if she can have kids at a future date. I'm not sure how old she is at this point. I think she might be 34, 35 now, and when the episode was filmed a number of months ago. She's definitely not 40, but she's got to be in her mid-30s. But she is kind of curious what the process would be like when she can't have kids, if now would be the time. Is she worried that the more she gets older, it lessens the chance of her having kids, blah, blah, blah. So she talks to the doctor, who tells her, and I really know nothing about this whole thing aside from what they talk about here, but the doctor talks about how she should freeze her eggs at 35. So that tells me that she's probably 33, 34. You know what? I'm right in front of my computer. Let's just look it up right now. Nikki Bella. This is the type of research I should probably do before we go live here. Nikki Bella, 36 years old. She turned 36 in November. So I'm assuming that this was filmed back in November, December, late last year. Is kind of when the timeline matches up with it. We hear from Daniel Bryan and people like that, and he still has long hair. He cut his hair in December. So this is probably right before she turned 36. So I guess what the woman is telling her, that at 35, which is what she's at right now, she should probably freeze her eggs, which, again, I'm not all that knowledgeable about how this all works and whatnot. Didn't pay too much attention during health class, but, back in the day. But basically, she explains that by freezing her eggs, she'll be able to come back to them at a later date, which might be safer than, doing it when she's 40 or whatever. She can freeze her eggs now, come back to them if she wants to use them and have kids a couple of years from now, because she talks about how she wants to have kids, she wants to have a family, but at the same time, she's kind of very busy and wrapped up in her business life and stuff like that. She doesn't want to throw that all, not throw it away, but like have to juggle it the same way that Brie is at the moment. And the doctor emphasizes it's tougher to have kids past the age of 40. So if she doesn't make this decision now, the doctor doesn't want her coming back at 43, panicking that she can't have kids when she really wants to. She wants her to make this decision now, which is a very important life decision, but she doesn't know what she's going to do. The doctor also recommends there's two other things they could do. In addition to freezing the eggs, they can also freeze the embryo from the sperm of the male, her partner, that being Artem. So you can kind of have kids, I don't want to say locked away, that sounds terrible, but like, I guess you can, again, I'm not exactly sure how all of this works, but you can have the embryo and the eggs together to have kids at a later date with that person. But that's assuming you're going to be with that person. At this present point, they're not even engaged. They're just in a relationship. They've been together for a little less than a year. So she doesn't really want to do that. She doesn't want to commit to that quite yet. She is in love with Artem. She wants to marry Artem. Maybe not right now. They kind of get back to that later on because she just, she wants to be pregnant at some point, but she likes to also be independent. And by having the embryo frozen with the eggs based off her past relationships, she doesn't know if that's the smartest decision. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, it's her body. She can make whatever decision she wants, but I totally understand where she's coming from that respect. So Brie and Brian go pool fence shopping for Nikki. And that's when, not when we find out, but when we're reminded that Brian can't swim. Now, there was a whole episode about this, I think maybe season 1, when they had like the swimming instructor and Brie was jealous of the swimming instructor teaching Brian how to swim, blah, blah, blah. I completely forgot that Brian did not know how to swim. He corrects Brie when she says in front of the cameras and the guy at the store that, listen, I can't swim, I could just doggy paddle and whatever. So he brings that up. But Brie, in addition to just, if they have to save their kid, they will, but they also want to put the precautions in place with the fence, and they just want to know that their daughter will be safe next to their sister's house, which has a pool. Brie, the temporary fence is an option, but she wants a permanent fence. Now, granted, Nikki knows nothing about this. They inform her soon after this visit to the store of what they did. But really, with Brie and Brian, they're going out shopping for a fence that Nikki knows nothing about and probably won't want. And that's exactly the case. Nikki shuts her down immediately over the phone. Not being rude or anything, but she says, hey, it's my house. I don't want to have to look at this thing through the window of my master bedroom. I just don't really want to do that, And not only that, but again, maybe this is me just not being ignorant when it comes to this type of stuff, but not really knowing how much this type of stuff costs. But they say that a permanent fence could be around $30,000. That's unbelievable for just a simple pool fence, which I guess makes sense. You're kind of installing a fence around your pool, and it's a permanent thing. You can't get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. $30,000 is a lot of money. They do say they would split it with Nikki. It's not like, hey, we're getting you a fence, you're paying for all of it. They say that we'd pay half, Brie and Brian, and then Nikki would pay the other half. But again, you're expecting her to dish out $15,000 when she doesn't have to. When it's for something that she doesn't even really want. And she says that as well. They do bring up the idea of her getting a Louis Vuitton one, which I think they're telling the truth about. Nikki just wants to see proof. That she kind of expresses her interest in that. That kind of, intrigues her a little bit. And that apparently is 3 times the amount. So that's around $90,000 for a freaking pool fence. Again, that's simply unbelievable to me. So Nikki, meanwhile, she goes to talk to Artem while they're grocery shopping about the whole freezing the eggs thing. And she, reiterates to him that she wants to freeze the eggs, but not the embryo, because she wants to play it safe. And it's not that she's not planning for the future and that she's not ready to move forward, but they're just not married yet. So that's not exactly, I don't know if it's a popular thing to do, I'm not exactly sure, but she said a lot of people do that where they just simply freeze their eggs and not the embryo. That's just a normal thing to do, especially if you're not married yet. You never know what might happen. Like, her and John Cena were together for 5 or 6 years. They never had kids. I think it was 5 or 6 years. And her and Artem have barely been together for a year. So why would this be any different, So he's upset that not that she feels that way, but he wants to be included in that decision, in that conversation, in that discussion. He wants to be involved in it. I know it's her body, and she says that, which, again, I completely agree with, and she's absolutely right. But he's kind of upset. Not so mad, not more so mad, but more so, not confused, but a little disappointed that she did not include him in that decision. It's nice that she's even telling him at all. She should, but, some people might try to keep it from their significant other, blah, blah, blah. So it's nice that she's including him somewhat in the conversation, but she has to do it even more so by allowing him to also make his own decision about what they should do and not her just making a decision and then telling him what she's going to do, despite the fact it's her body, but at the same time, it's their relationship, And again, he's ready for more. He's ready for that next step. He doesn't really know what she wants because I guess she'll get drunk, and Bree says this later. Nikki will get drunk and promise him the world, and then she'll kind of draw back a little bit and say, not quite yet. I'm not ready for this or that. So it's kind of bringing him on a roller coaster when it's not exactly necessary, So Bree talks to JJ about the whole fence thing, and he's actually on Nikki's side in this argument because, and again, I agree with this too. I could see where Bree is coming from and why she would want, the peace of mind knowing there's a fence there in case Birdie ever got out, she'd be fine. But at the same time, though, JJ brings up what I was thinking earlier. Why don't you just keep an extra eye on your kid? I mean, it's your daughter. It's not Nikki's daughter. Yeah, it's her niece. But at the same time, you should not be in a position where you don't know where she is anyway. Yeah, she could always slip out, but you should keep an extra eye on her. Knowing there's a pool out there, it's like saying, for example, that you should, put a gate by the road. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. But that's like putting a gate in front of your driveway. Some people do have that. A lot of people don't. It's like saying, I'm going to put a gate all around the road so my daughter doesn't go out on the road and she's not looking. Like, that's up to you to keep an eye on your daughter. Now, granted, I'm not a parent, so but then again, so is JJ. JJ is a parent. So he kind of sees where Bree is coming from, but at the same time, he realizes, like, listen, it's your daughter. Like, that's Nikki's house. If she doesn't want to put a fence up, she doesn't want to do this or that, then you shouldn't, feel that it's your duty to have to do that, or that you have to do it for her, or that you're going to intrude on her property and put the fence up. Like, if she doesn't want to do it, then it's her decision. It's for nothing for you to get involved in. That just means take extra care of your kid. And she's your neighbor now, so you're just going to have to deal with it, is basically what JJ says. So Nikki talks to Bree about the whole Artem thing and about freezing the eggs. And Bree even asks her flat out, do you want to marry Artem? And she says, with slight hesitation, she says, I don't know. So that tells Bree, all right, listen, you got commitment issues, and you do this a lot where you promise him the world, and then you say, I'm not quite ready for this, I'm not ready to have kids, I'm not ready to get married, blah, 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 blah. She kind of strings these people along, and, every time she gets close to someone, she kind of pulls back a little bit. That's what Bree sees, and it kind of seems that way. And again, based off past relationship issues, that's entirely understandable. But at the same time, it puts Artem in a very tough position for something that isn't his fault, at least in my opinion. So, Bree absolutely feels for Artem in this situation, doesn't really know if this relationship is going to work out if Nikki can't make a decision one way or the other. Nikki, on the other hand, feels alone in this. She feels that Bree is taking Artem's side, that she doesn't really feel that anyone can relate to her on her side of the situation. And Bree even says to Nikki over the phone, or maybe in the same conversation, that she thinks that Artem might break up with her. Now, granted, that's not the smartest thing to say, and I feel like Bree kind of takes things to an extra mile. I don't know if it was on the last episode or the episode before that, the drunk episode where Nikki got plastered and her and Artem got in a huge fight. I think that was on the previous episode. If not recently, but either way, Bree had said something and really stupid. I forgot what it was. Like, you're not meant to be. Maybe he's not the one for you. Maybe he'll probably dump you, or like you should dump him. Blah blah blah. It was something really really dumb, and I feel like that was a really mean thing for her to say here too, when she says, I think Artem might dump you. Like, just don't say that. Even if you believe that, which alone, I don't think he's gonna break up with her over this, and we know that they haven't because they're now engaged. Spoiler alert. But that's not just something you say to someone. That's just my opinion. I feel like that was a really shitty thing for her to say. Because she does say, hey, he might break up with you because you're always going back and forth with him. You're kind of stringing him along, especially when you're drunk. Like, I could see him not wanting to deal with that. And maybe she's trying to scare Nikki into making a decision. But in my opinion, that's not the way to go about it. So Bree, back to the whole pool thing, she's adamant about being the most annoying neighbor ever until she gets her way. So what she does, she brings over capacity pool rule signs. You know those signs that you see at like the local pool or at a beach? Not capacity. It's for a pool, so it's not like an ocean, but like at any, public pool, like at a hotel. If you go to the pool at the hotel, there's a sign always that talks about the capacity pool rules, how many people should be in there, lifeguard on duty, blah 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 blah. Bree says that it's illegal for her to have a pool and not have those signs up, which is the absolute dumbest thing I've ever heard. I've absolutely never seen, I've been to a million pools in my life. Maybe once or twice I've seen these signs put up somewhere. Maybe it's because no one ever checks, but I've never heard that. When Nikki says that can't be true, Brie has no proof to back it up. She's probably just bullshitting again to scare her, lying her way into getting these signs to be put up, which again is so stupid. Nikki even says she can't read. So it's like, what point is this? What purpose does this even serve? This is so stupid. And Nikki even brings up, listen, you want me to put up these signs? You want me to put up this fence? How good is any of that if you don't even know CPR? I do from I guess she was a lifeguard or something, or a bodyguard, whatever. She knows CPR. Brie knows nothing about CPR. So how does that work? It kind of seems hypocritical. And Brie, admits that. She realizes that, like, all right, I'm telling her to put up all these signs, but even I myself don't know CPR, which I probably should. If I'm so adamant about saving my daughter from drowning in this pool, it's probably something I should know. So Brie meets with Artem to talk about this whole thing, and it seems like really nothing is accomplished. But he does say, nothing of note is said, aside from him saying that he really wants to marry Nikki. He just doesn't know if she's ready yet. He is ready. He is ready for that next step. But he does admit to her, I haven't gone ring shopping before, so if that's something you want to do with me, we'll do it. We'll look at what Nikki would want for a ring, blah, blah, blah. Brie does say that the relationship is a whirlwind and, talking about how they'll fight and they'll just get right back together. They'll reconcile the next day and everything's fine. That's most relationships, but specifically with Nikki and Artem, where it really feels like in many ways, and we don't know them on a personal level at all beyond the show, but it really seems like Nikki says a lot of things, but she doesn't actually mean them, or she has no intentions of actually fulfilling them, at least not right now. I do believe that she wants kids and be a wife and whatever, have a husband officially, but at the same time, it's not something she's interested in doing right now. So she should probably, she has expressed that, but she's also going back and forth and saying, I want to do it now, I don't want to do it now, and it's really throwing Artem for a loop. And that's when Brie tells Artem about the ring thing and what ring she would want. She said that she has a 1.7 carat ring. Never gone ring shopping before myself. Don't know how much that type of stuff costs. But Brie brings up how she has a 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 carat ring or whatever. And then Artem says, oh, okay. And then Brie had mentioned, oh yeah, so Nikki wants a 5K carat ring. What the 5? Is it 5K or 5 carat? I'm not exactly sure. Either way, that's a lot. I'm sure Brie's ring was a pretty penny. She's a bit more not subdued, but she's a bit more reasonable, I think, than Nikki. But even she likes the lavish stuff. I'm sure Brian really dished out quite a few big bucks for that ring that Brie is wearing on her finger right now. Nikki wants not even twice that, 3 times what Brie wants, which is completely ridiculous. So Brie gets walkie-talkies for her and Nikki to go back and forth on the phone, not the phone, but the walkie-talkies at their respective houses, so Brie feels a bit safer than she did previously. She does admit that she was being an annoying neighbor. She'll try to tone it down. She apologizes for that. And then Artem reiterates to Nikki a little bit later on back at Nikki's house where Artem is, staying for the night or whatever. When they talk about their little fight from the grocery store from a few days earlier, he says, again, I just want to be a part of the decision. And he's not really apologizing for anything, nor should he, because he stays his ground when he says, I should be a part of the decision. You can do whatever decision you want, but I deserve to be a part of it when it comes to our kids or future, marriage, whatever, which, again, he's absolutely, completely correct on, in my opinion. So Nikki makes a decision right then and there to let him move in. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because she said the exact same thing on the season premiere, if not episode 2. I'm pretty sure it was, season 5, episode 1, though, when she said that she wanted him to move in. Then she was talked out of it by her friends and I think family. Brie definitely didn't want him to move in, just because she thought it was too soon. And then Nikki was like, so not yet. It's one of those typical Nikki-isms, it seems, where she makes her mind up on something and then she changes her mind 5 minutes later. And Artem even says, I hope this decision doesn't change and I hope it's permanent. And she says, listen, I won't change my mind. This is happening, blah, blah, blah. It's all right, whatever. Hopefully she's telling the truth this time and she actually wants him to move in. Because that is the next step, because he is ready for that next step. Speaking of which, we do see him go ring shopping with Brie at the end of the episode. Some of the rings, Jesus Christ, he was talking about, the guy was like, oh yeah, this could be $60,000. I'm like, oh geez, that's a lot of money. Then he goes, oh, this could be $160,000. I'm like, holy fuck. And then he goes, this could be $400,000. I'm like, oh my God. Per carat, I think he said. Per carat. And then he said, oh, this one, I don't know if it was even 5 carat, but like this is a really, really nice one. This is up to $1 million. I mean, maybe people do spend $1 million on rings. I have no idea, but that's a lot of money. That is completely ridiculous. That's insane. He'll be paying that off till the day he dies. And this guy doesn't have a job right now either. So he has no job security to pay this thing off. I mean, it's not like he's broke or anything, but that's a lot of money for a dude that doesn't have a steady income at the moment. So he has no idea what to do. We do see it in the preview for the next episode, because this is where it ends. He does say that he bought the engagement ring. I don't know if that cost quite as much or if it's something different. I don't know. He made that decision. He made that decision apparently without Bray. So we'll find out more about that in the next episode. I think the proposal goes down in 2 episodes from now. Not next week, but the week after on June 4th. Which, again, I assume is the season finale, but I might be wrong. But anyway, so I thought this was a very interesting episode, as always, of Total Bellas. More on the Nikki and Artem front in terms of what their future holds for the marriage and the eggs and everything else, really setting the stage for what's to come at the end of the season, which, of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably already know that Nikki is officially pregnant. Now, I'm not sure if that was an accident or just something that happened or that they did plan on it. I guess we'll find out soon enough, right? So anyway, be sure to check it out right now on the E! Network. Total Bella Season 5, Episode 8, Off the Deep End. And as for me, guys, thank you, as always, for checking out the video. I appreciate your support. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. So going up here tomorrow on the channel, usually I have my SmackDown review, but I'm not watching the show until later on tonight, or probably early tomorrow, actually. And then I'm taking off a little later on for Alexis's house to go watch Double or Nothing. So I won't have time, I don't think, to do an audio SmackDown review. But what I will do is put up what RJ and I did a couple days ago. We talked about this on Wrestle Rant Radio, and we didn't have a chance to do it live. We were going to, didn't work out, whatever. So we simply just recorded ourselves doing a watch-along live stream over Zoom of AEW Double or Nothing 2019, which we were in attendance for last year, which was a lot of fun. So it's like a near 4-hour stream. It's not live, technically, but we did do it live together, watching the show together. That's going to be up tomorrow up here on the channel, so check that out. And then Sunday, of course, I think is going to be my next Undertaker The Last Ride Chapter 3 review. So that should be up on Sunday. Monday, a Captain America First Avenger review for the MCU Rewatch Review Series. And then Tuesday, we'll go on from there. So anyway, guys, have a great one. I'm Graham G. Matthews. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch your ass down the road.